Hello everyone, welcome to the live stream here from our Munich sale. Now we are in Motorworld, which is an incredible building in Munich. You're right there, Johnny. And we've got, it's an automotive emporium. There's all sorts of stuff going on there. Bugatti showroom that side. We've got some of our sale cars downstairs here. 300 SL Roadster. You check that out. W196 Streamliner. Not being sold here this weekend, but being sold soon. Gullwing. We're about to go upstairs, so be careful, Johnny. Going up an escalator backwards. We've got a big BMW collection here. Beautiful M1 in pearlescent white. Pre-war cars, 327, 326. E30 M3. I would like an E30 M3, I won't deny. So we're going upstairs, so the main auction room is over that way. We've got more cars on display here, more BMWs. We've got Aston Martins, DB4s, DB5s. Careful Johnny, careful Johnny. Spectacular Aston there. More DBs. Don't walk into the TT race car, Johnny. Right there. Gosh, look at that Mercedes with gullwing doors, 500 SEC gullwing. That is a pure slice of 1980s extravagance. Black Series, SLS. And now this room is where the auction's going to take place. This is where we've got the amazing Aumann collection, star of which is this 550 Spider. What a piece of kit. 356s, incredible lineup of Veritas cars. Some of you might not know what a Veritas is. Made very special kind of racing and sports cars, built around BMW mechanicals just after the war. SSKs, I mean, there's an Indianapolis racer in the middle there. Should we go this way, Johnny? Do you want to go ahead of me, or am I ahead? And this is the main auction room. Seats all laid out. More BMWs. We do have a lot of BMWs. We've got all sorts of amazing stuff. But we are now going to sit down, and I'm going to sit down with Anders Billet, car specialist, and no, not Felix Archer. We're going to sit down with Will Smith, and we're just going to chat through some of these lots. So while I go and join them, please watch this. It's an opportunity for us to talk about all manner of things. So we're talking about the market, we're talking about the cars we love, the cars we don't love. We try and deliver it with a bit of humour.
I know what you're going to say.
All you get with the Ferrari is 12 cylinders more of anxiety, isn't it? I mean,
largely.
Speaking as an owner.
Yeah. Some of our jokes are terrible. And of course, we have some special guests. We also did a special episode from the Mercedes Museum in Stuttgart. That recording was done shortly after we had sold the Mercedes 300 SLR Uhlenhaut Coupe, which was sold for 135 million euros.
What?
Imagine going to a pub with 2 or 3 friends, and that's exactly the way we try and do these podcasts.
Cheers. 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 Cheers.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome. Here we are live on. It's quite a precarious stage, isn't it?
A little bit.
There's a
There's
bit.
not a lot of room.
No.
We've been told not to move around too much. We can't swing in our chairs too much. But welcome, Anders, Will. Our podcast producer, Johnny, he always serves us a drink, doesn't he?
It does. It's very gracious.
Which is very nice. And he's come up trumps this time. It's champagne.
And on that note,
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Cheers. I mean,
why wait?
it's possible it's not real champagne, you know.
It is possible. Cheers, my friend.
Welcome. Should we have a quick sip?
I think we should.
Right, let's put that down. So here we are, once again, for the third time. Have I got that right? Third time.
Yes.
Third time
in Munich. We're in Motorworld. It's if people have watched this podcast over previous years, we've talked a little bit about Motorworld. It's a lot. This building used to. They used to repair locomotives.
Yes,
in here, didn't they?
trains.
Trains. It's enormous, and the whole place is like an automotive shopping mall.
Yeah, and we talked about it last year a little bit, but if those that didn't see that, what they've done is fantastic example of preservation of a building. They have left everything kind of exposed
Steel
as
girders.
it was. Massive, biggest steel girders you've ever seen in your life. Huge cranes and just things to carry equipment around. And then they've built everything within box sections around it. So the sort of the integral structure of the building is remained original, but you have car storage, boxes and shops and restaurants.
It creates a rather unique atmosphere, I think. It's cool. I like what they've done with it. It's like a car mecca, isn't it?
It is, and it's super easy to get to. There's a hotel here.
Yep.
We don't even have to leave this building, do we?
I don't really want to.
Eat,
Just
drink,
stay here.
all in one place. Yeah, no, it's great. And it's a perfect place for an auction, largely because there's just so much space, right? So you could do a 40-car auction here, you could do 140 cars, and there's space to do.
When we walked back in here yesterday, when I arrived and walked in, I was like, it made me all happy. It's like it's nice coming back here. It's a great venue for this and anything automotive really. But
however, it is freezing.
It's snowing, in fact.
It's snowing,
which is great because it's the first time I've seen snow this season, and I was just a bit like a excited sort of schoolboy looking at snow yesterday. But
there was a snowball fight last night.
Yeah, I saw. And what I like about coming back here is that the venue has grown a little bit, and it's sort of now a bit more of a destination, I think, in Munich. You can see more families, more people, more restaurants are busy, and because we came when it was first pretty new, right? When
the first year was quite new,
and it was quite quiet, and no one really knew what was what and where was where. But now it seems like it's an established part of Munich car culture, which is great.
I mean, on the restaurants, there's also not just is there more people walking here, but there's also more restaurants than the first year we were here.
Yes.
I think there were only, I wouldn't want to be quoted, but I think there was only 2 restaurants the first year, and this year there are more.
Plenty to eat.
Yes,
And drink.
Thank God.
Drink.
Yes.
Where the RM Sotheby's team are concerned, anyway. Small snack, large beer.
Works.
But our auction really puts on a show for people coming to Motorworld, even if they're not coming here to buy cars. Let's just talk a little bit about the display downstairs, as well as a lot of your BMW collection, which we'll talk about. But we have the W196 Streamliner.
Yeah, that's quite special.
Which is very, very special. Now, we can't say during this broadcast exactly when and where that car is going to be auctioned, but it is coming up for auction.
Yes.
So it's a great opportunity to have it on display. It's recently spent time in Stuttgart with Mercedes Heritage. They've been going through it. That is an amazing thing, isn't it?
It's stunning. It's stunning.
And you need very deep pockets to buy a W196.
Yes.
Indeed. I think, in fact, it's the only Streamliner you can buy. It's the only one available outside of Mercedes' own control.
Yeah.
So if you want one, that's basically the only one.
That's your one chance.
Yeah.
And the story is incredible. Mercedes-Benz in the 60s, I guess we're going through a time where motorsport wasn't in the forefront of their minds, because they'd left motorsport in 55 after the Le Mans crash. So they just weren't interested perhaps in motorsport as they might be today. And they gifted the car to the Indianapolis Museum, which is an amazing thing to do.
Yeah.
Even from a company like Mercedes, who are very careful to protect their brand and keep their cars, and they have one of the best collections of their own history of any manufacturer.
Yeah.
And to have gifted the car to Indianapolis in the early 60s is an amazing feat. But the car just remained in the museum, untouched, unrestored. I don't think it even was driving, or it perhaps was when it left the factory.
I think it may have done maybe a couple of demo runs early on.
Early
days.
And then it was just left.
Because it's been there since the 60s. I can't remember what year.
And the preservation level and the detail of how original that car is. I mean, you could just spend hours and hours and hours just drinking.
It's fascinating.
And the interesting thing about it is it started life as an open wheeler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fangio raced it
to victory in, oh Lord, I can't remember which Grand, was it
Argentina?
In Argentina?
Argentina, yeah.
Yeah, and
Moss
then
drove it.
and then Moss drove it in Monza,
Yeah.
as in Streamline, with the Streamline body. Amazing history.
I mean, it looks amazing with the streamlined body, but it would be interesting also that, I mean, if you buy that car, you virtually got two cars in one, because you could also have the old body remade, and you would relatively easily, you could swap between the bodies on it.
Yeah.
And you could have a car for various events. One open
You say
wheeler.
relatively easily.
Wow.
You know.
Yeah.
Fine. We'll lock you in a garage with some tools.
1 year later, I'm still there going, how does this work? No, but you effectively you are kind of buying two cars in one, because it both has the history as an open wheeler and then the latter history as the Streamliner, and you're getting both in one package.
Yep.
Quite cool.
And we're sitting here it's Friday evening. On Monday, we're going to be making a formal announcement about the W196, but also the other Indy cars that we're going to be selling, because it's a reasonable sized collection, and I mean 250 LM, the best.
Unreal.
250 LM. I
the
mean,
250 LM.
yeah. Yes. So there's all sorts of terrific stuff. GT40 or anyway, watch out, everyone. Watch out. There's going to be an announcement on Monday. So anyway, to this auction, I mentioned it just briefly earlier. BMW collection.
Yes.
And now, both of you like a BMW, don't you?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, you like
lifelong BMW geek.
Yeah. So this collection has come out of
Finland. Yes, we called it the Munich Masterpieces collection.
The Munich Masterpieces, yeah.
And out of Finland, correct? It's a single owner who very passionately collected these BMWs over many years, and now we're all offering them here at no reserve, I might add. And I think a really nice, it's a really charming collection of BMWs, because it's also there's such breadth to it. I know that's maybe a weird thing to say when it's a collection of only one brand, but you've got like from one end the 33 320, basically the last incarnation of the Dixie, and then up to the newest one is the 2005 M6 with a V10 engine.
Yeah.
You know, so yes, it's one brand, but there's enormous breadth within that one brand, and you can tell that he really did collect with the heart. It's cool.
And so we would probably identify the M1 as the sort of the. Is it the jewel of it?
Oh, it is. It's got.
I mean, I like pre-war BMW.
Yes.
But the M1 is a special car. We've got it on the screen behind us here.
I mean, I totally agree with you. Look, there are many gems in there, and depending on your taste and preferences, whatever. But you have to take the M1 as the pearl within the collection.
And it's very pearl to look at.
It is. It is.
It's what do we call? What is that color called? It is really a pearl.
It's
white.
pearlescent white, I would say. Pearl white, yeah.
It's
Pearl
funny
white.
when you see it under the lights. It sort of goes
Well,
brown, doesn't it?
grayish brown, yeah. But that's actually the whole intriguing bit about this particular M1, because it has quite a special story. It was delivered new in just plain white. So the purists can now go, oh, it's been resprayed, it's not original color. That's true. However, Walter Maurer, you would maybe have heard of him. Everybody I think has heard of the BMW art cars. Now, the art cars, the Warhol car is famous for Warhol painting it by hand in, well, I don't remember, what was it, 17 minutes, or I don't remember the number, ridiculously quick. But the vast majority of the other art cars, the artists actually put their artwork onto a scale model. And then this gentleman, Walter Maurer, he had the chore of putting that artwork from scale onto a real car. So while the artwork, of course, belongs to each individual artist, that's the whole point in the art cars, in practical terms, Walter Maurer painted the vast majority of the art cars.
Okay.
He also painted the Pro Car series that ran for 2 years as the warm-up for the Formula One. He painted all of the Pro Cars that were in BMW colors. He painted those as well. So he has history painting M1s for BMW. I'm getting to it. And this car, he painted that car. So it is not an art car. It's important to say that, because that would have required BMW to commission the work with Walter Maurer.
Yeah.
They did not. So it is not an art car. But the first owner, when he took delivery of the car, he went straight to Walter Maurer, came up with this design, this artwork, if you will, and then he painted the car in the same studio where he painted the other art cars, where he painted the pro cars. Actually, even Warhol, when he painted the M1, he painted it in Walter Maurer's studio.
It's incredible provenance for an M1.
It is.
Doesn't get actually.
I didn't know any of this, by the way.
So it's you know, it's not an art car, but it's probably as close as you'll ever get to owning an art car without it being an art car.
And the estimate on that?
450 to 550,000 euros, which to my mind, really, if you take a similar M1, similar mileage, similar condition, because it's really nice condition, it's probably what you would pay for that. So we've basically done what we did. We put an estimate on it as if it didn't have this unique paintwork, and then we're going to leave it up to the market to decide how much is it worth. Zero, maybe. Who knows? Or is it going to, I don't know, double the car's price? Probably not. But
M1s generally look good value.
Yes.
I think.
I think so.
Versus some of the other machinery, or of that era, supercar machinery.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that one is particularly good. It is a particularly good one because for years and years, M1s were not that valuable. You know, they were kind of 30, 40, 50 grand cars for many, many years.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And then, you know, so as a consequence of that, not all of them were that well maintained or looked after, but this one has been, and it is 30-odd thousand kilometers, incredibly low mileage, and the condition of the interior, the originality. I could not believe that was the paint job that effectively it's had almost from new, and the quality is so good. And credit to whoever's looked after that car for all those years, because they really have treasured it, and you can tell.
And I got the privilege of driving the car as well, and it's not just you went through it yourself and saw the quality of the car. It really is nice, but also driving it, again, the same story. It drives phenomenally. It's just everything is tight, feels right. It's good.
I don't fit in an M1. Which
you don't fit in an M1.
Rules me out.
You don't
Your
fit
loss.
in any cars.
Yeah.
Your loss.
Yeah. Tragic.
I like the 3-litre CSL.
How can you not? And in that colour as well.
It's an amazing colour.
Ceylon gold metallic.
They're just such amazing looking cars.
They are. And also, we just said about the M1, I'd argue, great value.
Well, we were saying earlier, weren't we? It's on track. It was a 2.7 RS competitor.
Yeah.
It was, and they were, they were great competition cars.
They were.
Yeah.
2.7 RS is going to cost you $500,000.
Well, if it's a lightweight,
it's
closer to a mil.
And you can buy a 3-litre CSL for.
Well, this one's estimated at 120 low estimate.
Yeah.
And it's right-hand drive, Peter. So it can come. It started life in the UK. Yeah. It was a UK car, city pack car with lightweight seats, and it's a really cool story, right?
It is a really. Again, this comes back to what I was saying. He really bought with his heart when he was buying these cars, because his first BMW was an E3, the four-door version of the coupe, a 3.0 SI in Ceylon gold metallic. He bought that brand new back in, I don't know, 72 or whatever. And then he was well into having his collection, and he was on a holiday with his wife in the UK and not doing anything cars, but passed by a classic car dealership, and this car was in the window. And he'd always wanted a CSL. He didn't have one in the collection. And then, of course, it was Ceylon gold, like his very first BMW had been, and he bought it. So it doesn't really make sense. It's the only right-hand drive car in his collection, which doesn't really make sense to have in Finland, but he bought with his heart. It was just, that was the car he was meant to have. It was a Ceylon gold CSL. So it ended up in Finland, but it should probably go back to you guys in the UK.
It should go back to the UK. I've got a couple of UK clients who are very interested in it for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And they are a lovely space. And the design element, I mean, you sit inside a CSL or even a 2002 of that era, it's just like a glass box.
Big greenhouse.
The visuals, the visibility.
And practical. It's got decent back seats. It's got a good
back seat.
You can use them.
Yeah, really great cars. And as you say, I think quite undervalued and underappreciated.
Yeah.
I mean, this is where I sometimes feel guilty on, because we talk about what we think are sort of a good value or cheapish cars, and you're still talking about very significant sums of money.
Oh, yeah,
But a 3-litre CSL for the money is a very special.
It is. But it's a cool collection overall, and again, such breadth. I mean, another one, if I may, just another one of my favorites is the 335, the 1940 335. It's just such a unique car. They only built very few of those 335s. I think it was 420 examples. It's not based on the same six-cylinder engine as they used for the 2.6 or 2.8 or what. They basically built a new engine, 3.5 liter straight six, and then they only built 420 cars because the war got in the way. This particular example is unrestored. It's original paint, original leather, carpets, soft top, everything. It's just so. In recent years, we've seen preservation class come up and become more popular, where before it was all about being fully concours. This is a car for preservation class. And that's another car I also got to drive for a bit in Finland. And mechanically, it's just sweet. It's so easily driven. You can't believe it's a pre-war car. It's just so easy. It's almost too easy.
Nothing like a car that's never been pulled apart.
Exactly.
If a car gets pulled apart, a body gets taken off a chassis, it never kind of fits and drives as well as when an original car that's bedded in over all those years. There's no rattles, there's no squeaks. There's just something about an unrestored car and the way that drives that I think most people realise is very, very special. Yeah.
I totally agree, and that's really that 335 in a nutshell. Plus the rarity and all the rest of it. But there's so many great cars. I mean, there's 20 BMW cars. Well, BMW and EMW. There's some EMWs as well. Though BMWs built after the war in East Germany. They were popular in actually the biggest market outside of East Germany for EMWs was Finland. So they were quite popular in Finland. So that's why also he has quite a few EMWs in his collection. But 20 cars and then 4 motorcycles, 24 lots, all going no reserve. It's going to be exciting.
And where better to sell BMWs than in Munich?
In Munich.
The home of BMW.
Indeed.
Well, sort of somewhat continuing with the BMW theme. So the room we're in, the auction room, I don't think our viewers can see, but we've got all of the chairs laid out in front of us where the bidders are going to sit. And surrounding this room is an incredible collection of cars, the Aumann collection.
Stunning.
Now, and it really is a
Stunning.
special. It is a special collection of cars. One of them. I mean, there are some very, very big Mercedes, and we're going to talk about one of those in a minute. But the Veritas cars, they are cool.
They are very cool.
Because they are. So Veritas, and I'm not an expert, but they are. It was a lot of people have never heard of Veritas.
Yeah,
right?
that's actually what I like about them.
I mean, a lot of car people, actually, if they're not particularly into early post-war racing cars, haven't heard of Veritas.
Yes.
But it was a company in Germany that started making sports racing cars, predominantly using BMW mechanicals. Yeah. Which is a very sound underpinning for
considering the results that they got with the 328 in particular.
Yeah.
Just prior to the war.
Yeah.
I mean, that was dominating.
Well, this one we're looking at now is a 1948 car, the RS. Now, that's, interestingly, that's got the BMW 315 engine, so not the 328 engine. So that's a single, no, it hasn't got twin rockers. Like, it's got it's the same block as the 328,
Yes.
different cylinder head.
Yes. And the chassis is a 315 on that one as well.
Yes, and but nevertheless, you can actually extract very good horsepower out of a 315.
And they're light.
Yeah, and we were saying earlier before we went on air, the thing is, I mean, it absolutely looks the part. All of those Veritas do. The single seat, the 2 single seaters are great looking cars as well, and you can. Yeah, it's got a Mille badge on the side. Look, it's a rare Mille eligible sports racer. Very few of them made. It's an estimate. I refer to my piece of paper: 550 to 750.
So this is where you tell people it's cheap.
No, but when you consider what you would pay for a similar era Mercedes
totally
or
agree.
Ferrari,
Maserati, whatever. Yes, I totally agree.
They are not as mechanically complex as something like a Maserati, but
but I'm going to argue it looks the part,
Does look the part.
and it's probably even rarer than something from that era, from Ferrari or Maserati. It's cool, and
we always get requests from clients. You know, they'd like a reasonably priced Mille eligible car. Now, that is a perfect contender.
it is.
Yeah.
To go and rally, go and enjoy. You can race it. It's road registered, so it's a highly versatile competition or events car, rally car, with great engineering underneath it. So, relatively compared to its contemporaries,
Yes.
it's an affordable entry into some big ticket events.
Yeah.
And it's affordable without becoming dull.
Yeah,
It's still
different.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's every bit as interesting, I think.
Oh my God,
And,
yeah.
and then a lot cheaper than much of its competition.
We were saying earlier, you don't see them
No.
outside normally of Germany. Like you know, in America or in the UK, they're very seldom seen. So, you know,
For me, that's a very large part of the appeal with a Veritas, I think. That's the rarity that people just won't know what it is. I think that's kind of cool.
I did a race at Goodwood many years ago, 2004, I think it was, and the grid was for either pre-war BMW 328s or for post-war cars using the same engine.
Yes.
So it
Okay.
was, you know, there were some Fraser Nashes and
they all disappeared.
Tajeros and things like that, and there were, I think, maybe 3 or 4 Veritases on that grid, and you know, they are. It turns out that a Fraser Nash, much like, you know, they
Disappeared.
They disappear off, but they're great cars. Yeah, I'm a big fan, and we've got 3 in one auction, which is very rare. So we've also, there's too many cars in the Aumann collection to talk about, but there are some beautiful pre-war Mercedes.
They are stunning.
Now, and I, for my money, the Type 122, the Indianapolis racer,
I could not agree more.
That is a beautiful.
It is the star for me of the Aumann collection, but frankly, it is the star of this auction for me.
Yeah, and you know, we were talking earlier. We're selling a collection of cars from the Indianapolis Museum, genuine Indianapolis racing history.
Came 8th.
Yes.
Came 8th.
At the Indy 500.
Yeah.
And we always try and make logical comparisons sometimes, especially when we're trying to value these things. But that is a works-entered Mercedes that, you know, when you look at the contemporaries of that era, say from Bugatti or things like that, I kind of think that represents an incredible opportunity for someone to own something that is just not the norm. You don't see them. You don't.
Yeah, well, find another one.
Find another one.
Well, you're not going to, are you?
And the stampings, the engine, it comes with its original body to the side, and just so many elements of the car just scream incredible originality and purity. And that is so hard to find in a works race car that's over 100 years old.
Also, you know, we talk a lot about these matching numbers and blah blah blah, and that's all well and good. But for race cars, it always becomes particularly challenging because they live tougher lives than did a road car. You know, they were driven in anger.
Yeah, by people like Peter Haynes, who don't have any mechanical sympathy.
Oh dear God, poor cars. But you know, and this one, it's a more than 100-year-old race car, which still retains just about total originality.
Yes, it is. You're absolutely right. It's 101 years old.
I know.
Car.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it?
It's mad, isn't it?
It's mad, and it's all still there.
Yeah.
You know, it's find another one. You're just not going to. You won't.
Well, so I'm referring to my crib sheet here. Forgive me, viewers. So 3.8 million to 5 million euros. So not pocket change exactly, but you know, so it resided in a famous collection since the 1930s. Did the 1936 Vanderbilt Cup as well as Indianapolis. You know,
And it was owned by Mr. Bernie Ecclestone at one point in his life.
was it?
Yeah. Mr. Ecclestone owned the car for a number of years and sold it to Mr. Aumann, I think in the 90s.
Okay.
And Yeah, so it's been in and around some of the best collections in the world, and we're very excited to see where it goes.
And I mean, with the estimate, it's a lot of money, no doubt about it. It's a whole lot of money. But yeah, if everything we've said about the car, find a Bugatti that matches that. It would be, I'm going to argue, significantly more. Or what about the Peugeot?
Yes.
I know Peugeot is maybe not a brand that we today put into that league, but back in the day they had some amazing engineering, 4-valve heads and all the good stuff. And they what was that? The Peugeot that also did in Indianapolis, that sold for a huge ton more than this.
Alfa Romeo as well,
Yes.
another manufacturer of that era that command probably an equivalent works Alfa would be above 10 million. And considering the brand that Mercedes is today and the history of the brand, I think it makes sense, and it looks like a logical and reasonable estimate, and it could well make a lot more, and I wouldn't be surprised if it did.
Yeah.
And coming back to the word looks, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
It just looks so right.
Yeah.
And I know actually that there's you can road register it, and there's wings and lights and everything with it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. Yeah. But without all of that stuff on, it's so raw, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, so I mean, we could talk about the Aumann collection for ages because there's so much stuff in this room, including the two other very significant Mercedes, and of course the Porsche 550.
I was just going to say you can't not mention a 550.
Well, Porsche 550s. They're very rare cars. They're very valuable, and actually, we've bought one or two to auction in recent times.
Yeah.
So it almost feels like there's more of them than there really are. But based on the number of cars that have come to market more recently, but and
it's quite nice, that one as well.
Yeah, that's
very nice.
That's a great car.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're doing a lot of BMW and Mercedes, but we are in Germany.
We are in Germany.
So, but why not? Now, the BMW 328, I'm looking at it right now, which is also part of the Aumann collection. In green, I don't know if it's going to appear on our screen. It might do in a moment. But the thing about 328s is that they're a very attractive car. They have, I think, what a lot of people would think of as being sort of quite post-war looking. But they sort of, if you know, and if you've ever driven one, but they, in a way, they sort of fly under the radar. And I think that so my dad had one, which he bought in about 1960. And we had in the family right the way up to not that long ago. So I've done lots and lots of miles in 328s, and they are phenomenal cars. I mean, if you think of the great pre-war sports cars, you might think about 1750 Alphas or certain Bugattis or whatever. Where and a 328 is a slightly, as I say, it flies under the radar slightly. It doesn't have the glamour cachet, but they were hugely successful racing cars in the period. Hugely successful.
I think part of its failure, you can't say failure, but part of what it's lacking almost today as a pre-war car comes out of it being almost too good. In a way, a lot of the crowd who are into cars of that era, they like the challenge of driving them. They like it to be a little bit difficult and a little bit awkward and a little bit, they have to really work for it. And
you don't have to double declutch
for starters.
on the gearbox. It has really clever one-shot lubrication. So you have a pedal up above the clutch, which there's a reservoir in the engine bay, and that lubricates all the chassis. You don't have to get under the car with a grease gun. You do it by pressing the pedal.
That's the thing. It was quite extremely ahead of its time, ahead of its competitors. Phenomenally good car, but actually today as a pre-war car, it almost makes it lacking in some weird backwards way.
It handles. It has light steering. They're quick.
Sound great.
They sound great.
Yeah.
And if you drive Because a lot of people say that William Lyons took the design for the XK120. A lot of people would say that the inspiration for the XK120 was a 328 BMW.
Well, it was probably the 328 millimeter.
And well, you can see a similar, particularly, for example, when you put wheel spats on the rear,
Yes.
on the rear arches. But if you were to drive a 328, and they sort of emerged in 1936. If you drove one back to back against an XK120,
I think that's a better car.
I think you'd find that's the better.
Yeah.
I mean, I like 120s, but I think you'd find that's a nicer car to drive.
Everyone who owns them as well, every single without fail collector who I know who has the 328, they just love them to pieces. They drive the hell out of them. They take them on any rally or any opportunity to drive them, they do. And it's not a secret. It's a well-known classic car, but for those that own them, they love them. And
I mean, it's funny you say that. Earlier this year, I was lucky enough to drive the Modena 100 and there was only one pre-war car, and it was a 328.
Yeah.
Which is not surprising.
Yeah.
Not surprising, because you can do it. It just goes.
And of course, as we were saying earlier, when I was talking about the race I did at Goodwood, it was good enough. That engine was made. Bristol's actually, yes,
yeah,
and Fraser-Nash's
AC.
and ACs.
ACAs.
That powered them to a lot of competition success as well.
Yeah.
Same engine.
Yeah.
We love
Lovely car.
we love a 328.
Quite a charming colour on this one as well, I think.
It's
not original, if I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it's the original colour, but it does look really good in that colour.
They're quite, rare in green. You see a lot of white ones. You see quite a lot of silver ones.
And if you've got a BMW collection, that's kind of one of those is pretty high at the top in terms of the kind of pecking order of BMWs. A 328 is as high as it gets, I think, in terms of a collection of them.
Yeah.
328, 507, and 1.
Yeah.
That would be the
top
three, wouldn't it?
What about Z4 Roadster?
It's up and coming.
I've
heard that if somebody was lucky enough to have just picked one up,
yeah.
Ooh, what a steal.
Or I would also say Z3M Coupe, but I'm very biased about.
No, I like those as well.
matter.
I do like those as well.
Isn't it a Z3M Roadster? Oh,
Z4. This is the Z4. Yeah,
Z4.
I confuse myself with the number of BMWs that I tend to acquire without my wife's knowledge.
Let's hope she's not watching.
No, she does though.
Okay, so we've got two more cars.
I've got a challenge.
Oh,
No more BMWs.
there are no.
That's crazy coming from me, but
We're getting now to contemporary supercars.
oof, well, that's different.
Now, I'm going to mention both these cars in the same breath. But I think for the benefit of our producer, the car that we will see on screen first is the 2021 Aston Martin V12 Speedster. There it is. And the car that you can see behind it on your screen at the moment is the SP1 Ferrari Monza. Conceptually,
Quite
very similar cars. And I guess the SP1 was the first of this kind of genre of sort of stripped out, no windscreen, Barchetta style. Because we've got
when did the McLaren come out?
the Elva.
No, not the Elva. The SLR.
No, the Sterling Moss.
The Sterling Moss.
That was kind of the first.
Yeah,
that was
the first.
very much in isolation, and it was certainly 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But they did it first, really,
They
arguably.
did, in the modern era.
The no windscreen
Yeah.
was really the Sterling Moss SLR, wasn't it?
That's a very good point. And now, there's been a few of the supercar manufacturers have launched cars very much along similar lines.
Yeah.
I actually think I think this is a great looking car.
It is.
I controversially, I think it's better looking than the SP1. But that is just me.
What I will say about the Aston, look, it's a matter of taste, of course, which is better looking. But what I do really like about the Aston, it's also smaller. Mm-hmm. It's significantly smaller. It just takes up less space than the SP1. Especially the width of the SP1 is shocking. It's just a big old car. And the Aston is a lot more compact, which I quite like about it.
I mean, the SP1. I mean, it says a lot about this genre of car. It comes with goggles, Ferrari supplied goggles. Did it come with crash helmets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But so does the Aston.
Yeah. So, but it says a lot about the driving experience.
Yes, for sure.
You need them, otherwise you're going to get a lot of
Yeah.
flies.
You do.
In your
But they're cool things, and you've got to be pretty hardcore to drive a car essentially without a windshield.
Also hardcore just to be like, I don't want a passenger, I'm just going to drive it myself.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you had the SP1 and the SP2, and for me, anyway, again, this is a matter of taste, but for me, I would always go for the SP1 if I was ever in that weird situation where I could choose, which I won't be. But SP1, first of all, it's rarer. They built fewer SP1s than 2s. But secondly, if you're going to go out and buy what is probably the most egoistic car on the market, totally bonkers, no windscreen, blah, 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 why not go full Monty, one seat? Such a huge car, one seat. Don't care about my friends, family, no one.
You can fit a second seat in these, can't you? You take the tonneau off, or can you not?
I think
I'm
Ferrari
sure
would
you probably
Would they
could,
put you in a
but
dungeon?
yeah, I don't think.
I'd go to Halfords and buy sort of one of those like 150 quid aftermarket seats.
Yeah, race bucket seats.
And bolt it
Bolted in, yeah.
Great idea.
in.
yeah.
Demon tweaks. Get the demon tweaks.
Yeah.
It is a strange little kind of niche of the market that's existed, isn't it? With the Barchetta sort of resurgence,
Yeah, yeah.
revolution that's gone on in recent years, and it is a little bit sort of bonkers and egotistical and slightly pointless, but they are also good looking and fun.
But we talked about the Veritas RS. I mean,
Yes.
essentially, I mean, look at the bodies.
Very
I mean,
similar
a head fairing.
So you're going to have
No
the Veritas
windscreen.
RS and the SP1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, though, we should talk about the price difference between the Aston and
It's
and-
huge.
Yeah, so
It's huge.
we've got 780. Just let me remind myself: 780 to just over €1 million on the Aston,
Mm-hmm.
and 3 to 3.5 million for the Ferrari. So that you could buy. Actually, you could buy 3 Aston Martins
Easily.
for one SP.
Easily.
Yeah.
So that's obviously
You could almost buy 4.
yeah, that's
almost.
a factor that's going to come into play.
It does, and it also, I mean, they are very similar in concept, and it is in some respects relevant to compare the two, or I don't know if it's relevant, but you can't help yourself. But the pricing alone sort of makes it irrelevant because they're so different on that.
Both V12 engines.
Yep.
One is Ferrari's 6.5 litres. The Aston is 5 and a bit, 5.2, I think it is. But
Something like that.
yeah, but they're both. I mean,
And Aston Martin only sold 88 of them,
Yes.
whereas compared to Ferrari's 499 of the SP1s, or
1 and 2.
and
One and
2s.
2.
So
I think they only did about 150 of the ones, though.
yeah,
Or something like that.
but yeah, so a lot more of the Ferraris out there than
Yes,
there are the
yes,
Astons.
yes.
And if you're looking at it from a numbers game, the Aston is definitely.
well, you're talking me into it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I may buy that
There
Aston.
you go.
I think you should. I think
Yeah.
you should. But all of that
credit,
said,
on finance.
all of that said, the branding of Ferrari means that is probably going to be the sounder investment anyway.
Maybe. I don't like
You
giving
never know.
investment advice. Just buy what you like.
No, I know.
Buy what you
I do
love,
agree.
and you'll never get burned.
Yeah, yeah.
And forget if you want to invest, go and talk to a financial advisor.
If I was buying a silver
Yeah,
Ferrari
don't
tomorrow,
talk to an RM specialist.
no, that's
What
not.
do you do?
But if I was buying a silver Ferrari
I'd
tomorrow, buying what we like, I
I'd
would go
rather
for the
speak to
Dino.
the guy that runs my local corner shop rather than speak to Will Smith about investment advice. I mean,
Absolutely.
right. Anyway, chaps, there's going to be a drinks reception kicking off in here quite soon.
good.
I know
We started early.
We've started early. So we're ahead of the game, but we're going to need to wind this up. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And my camera is here, so I'm going to look right at it. And I get told off when I do these, when I don't say all the things that I have to say. But you can watch all episodes of RM Sotheby's Car Show on YouTube. You can download the audio version from all the usual places you get your podcasts from. Please subscribe. Please leave a review, or don't leave a review if you don't like it. Leave a review if you do like it. And don't forget, the auction is tomorrow, Saturday, at 4:00 in the afternoon. There is still time to register to bid on any of the cars we've talked about. There are many other cars to suit all budgets, by the way. Yes, and you can watch the live stream of the auction tomorrow at rmsotheby's.com. So thank you very much. Thanks for joining us.